You're listening to Common Sense and Beer, where we talk about heavy-hitting topics with a beer in hand. I'm your host, Zach, and my other host here,
Kyle.
And what are we going to be talking about today, Kyle?
Oh, man. Well, I kind of wanted to start off tonight, talk about a little bit of current events, but, I think we can dive into the family unit tonight. The kind of attacks on the family unit.
Yep.
It's kind of tied in, circle back to a lot of other conversations we've had. By the way, circle back is a trademark term. Jen Psaki, I do want to give her all the credit for that term. I love the term. I will keep using it. I love the term so much. So a lot of these things kind of circle back into that. Current events, there's kind of a lot going on. There was a crazy man who blew up his house when the police raided him with a flare gun, filled it up with some sort of gasoline. I'm not sure on the details there. Either way, launched a flare gun, blew up the house. Coming to find out, this guy's like head of some sort of security. He's got ties with, high-end people and everything else. He kind of seems pretty crazy. Says there's going to be a catastrophic event coming. Who knows? It's one of those. But, so that happened. That's it's just one of those things that, you like to read, and it's like, huh.
Well, you want the full story behind it.
Right. Like, well, they were raiding his house for a reason. Was it just because he was crazy and making threats, or... Was there something else going on with what he's saying? I mean, he's very Alex Jones, but a million times, I'd say, worse than that.
Yeah.
You're talking about current events. Did you see about the FBI listening to Catholics?
Oh, I've known about that for a while, haven't you guys?
I did not.
I mean, I guess you're right. It was confirmed, right? But, yeah, no, they absolutely have been. Supposedly, the Catholics are very dangerous to America at this point in time. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
So, from what I gather, the FBI is actually they're using priests as informants, is what I understand. Is that what you know of it?
No, I have no idea. As priests as informants, I'm not sure about all that. I just know that you have a large religious, majority here in America, and they kind of view them as extremists at this point in time.
Yeah.
A large majority of them are speaking up during these school board meetings.
Yeah.
When a lot of the books and whatnot were being taught, and a lot of the very over-sexualized stuff was being pushed on kids. And
I know I could see it where, the FBI go into, say, a large Catholic church, and they say, all right, this is a matter of national security. You need to tell us, X, Y, Z about your parishioners, things like that. I wouldn't put that past them, but is it just more of just like a tapping their phone and listening to their conversations more,
I think it's more or less monitoring what they do. They find out that these people go to the meetings, and then they start monitoring their social media, their posts, and they start archiving stuff. So, they have a case file basically built up for if these people do something that they deem to be an infraction in the future.
Okay.
I mean, that's essentially what they've been doing to us now. What else?
Crazy.
Current events here. So, I mean, that was confirmed. There's a lot of stuff kind of going on in the House. Supposedly, they're going to release more footage of the January 6th stuff, but they have to blur. It's kind of funny. I watched on Twitter. They're saying, like, oh, he's got to blur a bunch of faces of all the FBI and Antifa that were there. And then people are complaining, and it's like, do you not understand how it's going to be hilarious when these videos come out and there's going to be hundreds of blurred faces?
Yeah.
You do realize that every blurred face is a confirmed FBI effort. I feel like when this stuff gets dropped, people are going to be like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You
get what I'm saying?
Yep. There was that many people involved in this.
Exactly. Yeah. We can't show their identity, but look at how many of them there are.
Yep.
Here, listen to this. Going back to the Catholics.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Was this Josh Hawley?
Let's talk a little bit about the FBI's egregious targeting of Catholic Americans. You have repeatedly been asked about the memo generated by the Richmond field office. We now know, in collaboration with multiple other field offices, about recruiting sources in Catholic churches. You have repeatedly said that no human sources were approached. This is you on July the 12th in the House. You were asked directly by Jim Jordan, do you think that priests ought to be approached to give information on parishioners. You said, no, sir, no, sir. You went on to say, we do not recruit, open, or operate human sources. We do not report on religious organizations. You went on to say, this product, meaning the Richmond memo, has not resulted in any investigative action. But now we know that, in fact, FBI agents did approach a priest and a choir director to ask them to inform on parishioners. So were you lied to when you gave this testimony, or were you lying to Congress?
Neither. So your question conflates two different things. There's the intelligence product itself, which the Richmond field office created. It was written by, as our inspection found, by analysts in Richmond, reviewed by people in Richmond, and captioned Richmond field office product. Separately from that, there was an investigation of a specific individual who was amassing Molotov cocktails and posting about killing people, and it does not surprise me that there were people who knew that subject in that investigation, that is the guy building the Molotov cocktails and trying to kill people, the people talked to the witnesses who knew that person, and I think the product, the Richmond intelligence product, which cites that investigation, is actually pretty transparent about exactly what I just said.
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, the only reason we know this is a whistleblower has come forward and told the House under oath that the FBI went and interviewed priests and choir directors in the Richmond area.
What a little
the House goes
piece
on.
of
The FBI has repeatedly refused to disclose this information. The only reason we know it is because a whistleblower came forward with it. Just like the only reason we know about this memo is because a whistleblower came forward with it. How many other parishes around the country have priests or choir directors been?
I'll let it go, but there's further ahead that I want to touch on more, but I'll find it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. FBI Director Wray is quite honestly one of the biggest snakes to watch. Any of these hearings, if you ever watch them, and then, I mean, they're dull, but they are a good watch because you can see how crazy. I mean, these people they don't hide it. When you see the Democrat senators and stuff investigating some of these people and the words they say and the things they say, you're like, oh, we're at a dangerous point in our country that these people are actually at seats of power. Yeah. I mean, you get to see it. But no, anytime you see Wray talk, he is a snake, man, and he'll twist everything. And he's just, I do not like the guy at all, man. You can just tell that he's just, look at him.
Well, how many times he goes like, I don't know the answer. I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Do you know who you're the director of the FBI. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, unfortunately, there's not a lot of this that comes as a surprise to me. Mm-hmm. That's the unfortunate thing, is that this stuff isn't more surprising as it is than it is. You know, I mean, it's really sad when the government is using priests and pastors.
Well, it cracks me up so much that they conflated Trump to Hitler. But you know who used to do this exact same thing that we're going through right now was the Nazi regime under Adolf Hitler. They did this. They didn't like religion. Everybody that says that the Christian nationalists are the same as it's like, no, they did. They replaced all the crosses on churches with the Nazi swastika.
Yeah.
On purpose, because it was the party that was supreme. They were supreme.
Right.
Hitler was supreme.
Well, they didn't
all
want
these things were, man, it's just, it's so unreal to me that we're living in a time and we're reliving all these things and people are doing it, but they're projecting so hard that it's like they've completely split and created this mirror image of crap. And they're pushing us all through it, man.
Well, and think about what kids are seeing now.
Oh, I guess fortunately, I've done what I can do to shield my kids, and we're in a position where we can homeschool them and keep them away from the filth.
Well, problem is, I mean, I think the biggest problem is that there's not parents. Parents don't care anymore. They're actively showing their kids this kind of stuff,
right?
And I think a lot of it. You're going to interject? What's up?
I was say I found the part that I
Oh,
wanted you to
go ahead
do.
and play
okay.
it. Yeah.
All right, let's hear it, Joe.
See, so you're
I did
immune
not
and
say
they're
that.
immune. So we shouldn't ask questions about it. You haven't done a darn thing. You haven't fired anybody. In fact, what the House found is, what is it? You admonished them. They were admonished. And their respective supervisors were told to engage with the Human Resources Division to ensure that deficiencies are addressed. Oh, well, I feel much better. They've been sent to bed without food. Good heavens, Director. This is one of the most outrageous targetings. You have mobilized your division, the most powerful law enforcement division in the world, against traditionalist Catholics, whatever the heck that means. And you just told us you have not
Thank
fired a
God we're
single
Lutheran.
person. I mean, here, it gets worse. Your Richmond field office, they thought there was nothing wrong with this. The House interviewed the head of the Richmond field office. He testified. It's all here in the public report. I refer you to it, pages 12, 13, 14. He testified he saw no problem with this. He said he thought it was fine. In fact, we have internal memoranda of the members of the field office high-fiving. One peer reviewer, another member of the field office wrote, "I think this is a great product. I really enjoyed the read."
Like the end
Do
of
you
an
have a
80s
problem
comic,
with systemic
that movie.
bigotry against
High
Catholics
five in the
FBI?
end.
No.
What are you going to do about this? Are you going to fire these people or not?
Those individuals have all been admonished, and it is all going into their,
Admonished.
if you would let me
Admonished,
finish
yeah.
my answer, it is all
let him
going into
finish.
their annual performance
Kyle, stop.
reviews,
Let
which
him
has
finish.
direct impact
I'm sorry, their
This is
annual
their
performance
compensation,
reviews
among
gonna
other
suffer.
Oh, I see.
This
Also,
is the director you're
I see.
talking to.
So the 60 million American Catholics
Instead of a 10% raise,
who we now
they're only
who
going to see
now
about
learn
5.
that
Yeah.
your FBI has recommended
No, they're
that
actually
priests
probably
be
gonna get a raise.
recruiters, informants. Your FBI
yeah.
has
More
gone
than
to
10%.
priests, choir directors, but we're to feel better because you've admonished them for their wrongdoing.
You again are conflating two different
Well, I'm
things.
not.
When
I am
we
taking
are,
your testimony where you said you do not.
Shame.
You said categorically, you said we do not go to priests and ask them about their parishioners. You said we do not. You didn't say we haven't. You didn't say we won't. You said we don't. It turns out you do, and you kept it from the public. You deliberately misled Congress about it, and the only reason we know about it is because a whistleblower came forward.
I just
That's the truth.
fundamentally disagree with your
Well,
characterization.
there's no characterization. The facts are the facts, and I fundamentally
guy?
resent the fact
you
that
wanna
you
just-
have violated, if not the spirit, if not the
No.
letter, certainly the spirit of the First Amendment, and used your law enforcement agency against Catholics in this nation.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, that guy's, pretty much a POS.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Well, Hawley, I think, held it together more than I would have.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Granted, I know he's,
Probably rehearsed that a
He's-
little bit.
yeah,
I-
probably.
I'm sure he knew exactly where the director was going to go with it, and he chose to.
Yeah.
Sure.
He knew what was going to happen, so he led him into a trap, more or less. But at the same time, like, I would be livid, to say the least, most because I'm an absolutist. So
Right.
Well, like I said, it's really sad. It's really sad that kids are, having to feed into this kind of stuff, especially that parents are, pushing. There's parents out there actively pushing that these things should be done.
Yeah.
It's like spying on people to make sure that they're doing good and
Well,
all
look
that.
at look at when COVID is going on. Make sure you tell on your neighbors that are having an event together.
Right.
That's a super spreader event. You're going to kill all sorts of grandmas.
Yep.
Not just your grandma, but all sorts of grandmas.
are you saying you killed my grandma?
I'm not saying I killed.
Did
your
you have a
grandma,
barbecue?
But you know who
Did you have a barbecue during COVID?
You know who killed your grandma? Gretchen Whitmer killed your grandma. Tony Evers killed your grandma.
Oh, you know what? I don't know how they killed my grandma. She died in 2012.
Well, then I don't even know why you brought it
She
up.
actually died in 2011. But
I'm sorry. So, you know what I mean with the COVID deaths. They were actually putting COVID patients into nursing homes and setting them up with all the elderly and just genociding elderly,
Yeah.
essentially with their policies.
speaking of, we're talking
Yes.
about COVID. Did you see that Scotland was actively killing their elderly with COVID?
Well, America was doing it, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is more of confirmed. Like, this is actually, because you can instigate or infer that America did it. However, you can't pin it down.
You
right?
know, I
Whereas
can kind of pin
Scotland
it
is-
down when they did actually put increase in overflowing like prisoners and COVID cases into nursing homes. Like these were the policies of New Jersey, New York, Michigan, I think more states, but those 3 alone killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
When they were Me Tooing the governor of New York, what's that guy's name? He went on an apology tour for sexually harassing people and said, "I'm Italian. It's okay." It's Chris Cuomo's brother. I can't think of the guy's name.
I can picture him.
Oh my God.
I can't think of the name.
Anyways, this guy is just a complete tool, and they Me Too'd him out of office instead of threw him in jail for mass killing. He literally didn't take the Trump ship. They sent the ship, the medical ship.
Yeah.
And he didn't use it because he didn't want to give Trump a win.
Yeah. Yep.
It was wild. Although I do remember a Trump win from his mouth when he did say, well, the White House has been excellent with everything we've needed. He couldn't say anything because, it was what it was.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah, no, COVID was a crazy time. It kind of woke people up. It woke me up. I think it woke a lot of people up. And I honestly believe that Trump getting cheated out of the election has further woken people up. And you know what's great, and I talked to my dad earlier who's running campaigns, and just he knows all these people, and these people he knows that I'm seeing they're getting the Trump endorsements, and it's like their messages, and they just seem like stand-up people. So I made a message to him. It took Trump getting cheated to have all the good people finally rise up and say enough's enough. We got to take power back to the people and the good spirits, the good people, the people that have no skeletons in their closet.
Sure.
The people that can run that probably never wanted to, but just are finally enough's enough. I got to make sure my future and our future is good for the people of this country and my kids. And enough of those people, I think, are finally roused up and.
Yeah.
I think it was a benefit that they actually did cheat Trump out. I think it played to our benefit, is what I mean.
The way that I see a lot of things talking about power-wise and stuff, getting into government, those individuals that often look to get into a place of power don't deserve it, and those that aren't looking for it are the ones
that deserve it. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Those ones that weren't looking for it are finally pushed out you need to do something because no one else is.
Well,
and we're getting those people running now, and it's man, it's good to see.
I think one of the biggest things that COVID did too is it showed people how far the government can reach into our day to day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
They shut it down.
They shut everything down. How long was it? Was it 4 weeks, 6 weeks? Where everything was shut down except for gas stations. We had to carry. We were.
The internet wasn't down.
The internet wasn't down. We did house calls during that time, but if you remember, we were given sheets of paper that if we were stopped, we could show them that we're an quote unquote essential worker and that we could be on the road.
CISA. We had CISA certificates handed out to us saying that we are critical communication infrastructure worker. A lot of big words were on that piece of paper.
I threw that thing in the trash immediately.
Oh, no, I kept it. I'm going to frame that to show that our government came this close to Nazi Germany.
Yeah. Well, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is I think that opened up a lot of people's eyes to exactly what the government can do given the opportunity.
Oh, yeah. And how much further they're willing to go. And
regardless of if you think COVID was a hoax, regardless of if you think it was orchestrated, whatever it was, it doesn't matter because the government, it was that easy for them to reach in and say, hey, don't do this, don't do that,
Zach,
do this, do that.
I want to correct you on one thing. You said this is what the government can do. I think it's more of what we allow the government to do.
That's exactly right.
Sure.
They had no authority to do what they did.
Right.
We just didn't raise our voices when we should have raised our voices.
Sure.
Right.
Well, and
because the government has no power. We give them their power.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, our rights are not given by the government, and people get that conflated. It's really easy to conflate those powers by taking God away from people. Because you take God out of people's hands, and now it's, well, who gives me my rights? Well, these better men, these people in the government.
How about your parents? Take your parents away from you.
Take your parents away from you.
Your
authority figure.
Not necessarily in a literal sense, but discourage.
That's what. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The authority figure. The authority figure that your parents have. That no, they don't know what's best for you.
Yeah.
We know what's best for you.
Well, imagine-
don't you like what we have to offer? Doesn't that make you feel good?
Yeah.
With their parents, that doesn't make you feel good.
Yeah, imagine
Hard work
you
doesn't
had
make you feel good.
Right. Imagine if you take your kids to the playground, okay, and some guy is convincing you, whether it's directly or not, is trying to convince your kids that, your parents are wrong and I'm right, so you should do what I say. You know what I mean? What would that guy get?
Is he offering candy?
No, maybe
he
not.
Probably has a trench coat on, offering candy. He's got a white painted out windowed van in the back there, and
what he's
going to get a firm punch in the
There
face.
you
is
go.
what he's gonna get.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
To answer your question.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're at. Sir, let's get right into the family unit. That's exactly what we're experiencing right now. The loss of family unit, and I think I've got some statistics that I'll try to pull up here, but I've got an article.
Before you get into
what's up?
statistics, define what a family unit is.
So,
Well, it's different. It's different now from what it was, but these are the statistics actually. So the name of this article is called 5 Facts About the Modern American Family. And this is from pewresearch.org. So I imagine this is some sort of church journalism, maybe.
I think what does it define as modern family? Like, is that a four-person family? Is this a...
It'll get into it. It gets into it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So we've
Give me
got
a chance,
very
guys.
complex.
Give-
All right,
give-
sorry.
give me a
Sorry.
chance, guys.
Let's go. Zach, you have the floor.
Well, so there's
Well, I was
5.
trying to find your definition.
Oh,
but
my
Zach
definition.
has the floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. My definition.
it's not-
Right. Oh God.
Let me find that timestamp real fast.
Don't worry about that. There's going to be
I
a
got a
beep
pad.
there.
Where are we? 2130.
Anyway,
Remember that, kids? 2130.
So the way I would define a modern family these days, I think there's much less of a traditional nuclear family, which I think is beneficial. And so you see a lot more. You see a lot less kids being born because it's a hindrance to their parents. I mean, that's the day and age we live in. That's what people are seeing, and that's the way they see the world, is that their kids are hindering them from doing things in the world.
Are you saying
then-
that people aren't having kids because they think it's a hindrance to their parents? Is that what
No,
you
no,
said?
no.
People aren't having kids because they think it's going to be... They're not ready to have kids. How dare they bear the responsibility of having kids? They can barely support themselves.
Right. People
Now-
don't think that they can be happier with more kids.
They just think it's going to be that financial burden. It's going to make life harder.
Right.
And they don't realize it. In essence,
I
don't notice them like my kids personally. I don't notice my kids personally as a financial burden at all.
And first-time parents are older now.
I don't
true,
necessarily think that
which is
it's
bad.
my happiness on why I don't have kids. I think it's a lot of it's more of a nihilistic thinking to where like, oh, well, I don't want to bring a kid up in this crappy situation, so I'm just not going to do so at all.
And I see that. And I see that 100%. But I also counter it with, well, how are you going to fix a situation if you're not raising up a better youth?
Well, that's...
And only you can do that by raising your own personal kids, and giving your values onto them.
Yeah, I get like what you're saying the problem is. I'm just saying that I don't think it's necessarily a happiness thing. It's just nihilism.
No, that's just an example. Yeah.
Sure.
That's just an example. So, like I said, and I just actually got this from this article. Americans are putting off life's big milestones, like having kids. And let me read it here. Today, the median age at first marriage is 29 for men and 27 for women. The highest in modern history.
Honestly, not that bad.
In 2013, more than 1 in 4, or 26% of people ages 18 to 32 were married. But in 1960, well over 65% of Americans were married.
Wow.
And then mothers are also waiting longer to have children. In 1960, women ages 15 to 24 accounted for 40% of mothers with infants. By 2011, the number had dropped to 22%.
Wow.
So that's almost half.
Hey, I'm sorry, Joe. Please speak. You were going to interject something, and I'm going to just totally take this off course. So I want you to get your thought.
No, I didn't. I don't remember what I was going to say. So
Oh, there we go.
Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
People
North Korean leader was just crying to his people, like, please have kids. He's trying to appease the women. Please have kids, because the falling birth rates are actually like global. Like that's not just.
Well, there's only one country that I know of that is actually having a boom right now.
Okay.
India.
Oh yeah.
India is the only country that China is in a deficit. Every other country is in a deficit besides India
Interesting.
because they like bobs and veganas.
Jeez. Anyway.
Well, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it tracks.
Yep.
Checks out. Confirmed.
So, yeah, I think that's a big factor. We're waiting much longer to have kids than what we once did, and one of the bigger problems with that is we all have a biological clock to have children.
Well,
Not
for women.
for
For
men.
right?
It's 30
Yes.
years old
Not-
for women,
I mean,
right?
like, what's his name? I mean, Al Pacino just had one.
Yeah,
I'm
Al
pretty sure.
Pacino.
Same
He's
with.
80.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not a
it's-
thing for dudes.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
For
right.
dudes, like you said, biological clock for everyone. So I'm just
Yeah, I just meant
showing
yeah,
inferences where
Families
that's
essentially include a woman.
right.
well.
So
I
you
mean,
could say
when
a man
freaking
has the
Leonardo
woman.
DiCaprio is constantly
Crap you.
Yeah, he's
kicking
having,
out. Oh, you're 26 now. Get the heck out of mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's keeping them young. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that guy IVs young people's blood already at his age.
He's got that toddler blood.
Yeah.
He's got that toddler blood. But you've heard of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You do know that rich
Oh,
people
yeah.
like hire people that like stay fit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like
They, like,
abduct
dupe.
children to get toddler blood. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, once that's not good enough anymore, I assume you got to go for the next purest thing.
Well, you typically go to an island, but
Well, yeah, Trump tried to shut that down, but
Yeah.
Biden's probably bringing them back. There's probably like 5 or 6 islands now under Biden's watch.
Yeah. Maybe.
yeah,
Just
somehow
stumbling around them.
we have all the information, but we don't want to expose it. So nah.
Did you see RFK actually came out and said that he was on his plane? He spit
RFK?
that out. So he something like that. It sounded probably similar to Joe's, but no, he said that. He goes, well, yeah, his wife and kids were with him the whole time, but he's like, well, come to think, it's turning around to think about it. He probably was trying to drive his favor by flying him out to these like vacation type things. So one was like a fossil hunting trip in the Dakotas, and the other was something else. But he's like, well, he probably was actually trying to buy my favor just with like a more, PG approach versus his R-rated approaches that he gets everyone else on.
Yeah.
Did you say RFK was there?
RFK, he wasn't on the island, but he was on his flight log.
Oh, on this flight. Okay.
Epstein flight him to
Gotcha.
to a vacation and then to this other fossil hunting trip or something.
Gotcha.
But he came out and he owned it right away. He goes, yeah. He goes, the flight log should be released. I don't know what anyone's hiding. And
Yeah,
he's like, I was on there, but this is what we did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Either he's really good at getting ahead of stuff, or he's probably the most honest person we'll ever see running in the political ring ever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only thing that I'm happy about that whole thing that came out is that we get to see Clinton in a dress.
Did you? Yeah, the Clinton dress. The
You don't
painting?
know what I'm talking about? Bill Clinton in a painting in a dress. I think it was blue.
It
Right?
was blue, like Monica
Yeah.
Lewinsky's. It was yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
All right, it's Bill Clinton in a dress, and there was also a painting of George Bush with a paper airplane and 2 block towers crumbled.
Oh my Lord.
These were owned by Jeffrey Epstein. You did not know this?
No.
Dude, I'm telling you, you got to get into these conspiracy theories because they are hilarious, fun, twisted, dark,
Scary.
scary.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
if
God,
some
do
of
you
them
see
are
that?
true,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
that's not even a conspiracy theory. That's real.
That's a real-
That's real.
Wow.
That's not fake.
So, do you think the painter got him in the dress, or was he just sitting like
No.
that? Like, well, what do you think? I mean, what kind of dirt?
him in that.
No, what kind of dirt do you think he had on him, and then he forced him into the dress? What do you think?
I think the paintings were just based on their
The things that they've done.
the things that happened during their presidencies. His was obviously the affair with Bill Clinton in the blue dress with the
Yeah.
that it's Monica Lewinsky, you know, and then with George Bush and the towers, the infrared, he blew up the towers. It's
Like-
like
Yeah.
he's sitting there like an idiot with a paper airplane. Like,
Yeah.
pull up that painting.
I
show
might
Zach.
have seen
Zach
that
does- Jack
that
seems to see
painting, that painting as well, though. It wouldn't put it past me that they got him to do that, Bush to actually do that, because he is not the smartest man in any room.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you guys see the thing when they told him that the towers were hit? And he was like reading to a kindergarten class,
Yeah.
and then he like his like facial expressions didn't like really change at all, and like then he continued to stand there
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
read more.
I saw that.
And it's just like, okay, look at this. You seen this one?
Yes, I've seen this one.
Yeah. Epstein owned that one too.
Jeez.
I'm telling you, this guy had dirt on them all, man.
Yeah. Yep. That doesn't surprise me. So, what is it? Is that Hillary? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I guess I don't know what that was.
No, that was Hillary strangling.
No, I know what it
Epstein.
was. I know what it was.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's. So, getting back to what we were talking about, which is the family unit. I think there's other statistics here too. So today in America, so this is the second fact about the modern family. Today, an American woman on average is expected to have 1.9 children, compared with a total fertility rate of 3.7 children in 1960. So it says current levels are below the replacement rate of 2.1 children, the number of births needed for children to replace their parents in the population.
So I want to ask a question then too. Do you think that, because 1960 versus 2023,
Sure.
it's a difference of 60 years, right? Do you think that introducing all the microplastics into our system and then having testosterone at an all-time low in men, is that a more defining factor than just people not wanting to have kids?
It's a factor. I think it's definitely a factor, and I think I'm gonna catch heat for this. I think modern feminism has a lot to do with it as well.
No, stop. Just get out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
No, I think what it is that you are, again, this is what we're talking about, is getting away from the nuclear family. Feminists, I'm not at all against women going out there, getting a job and all of that. But I think the reason that these statistics were so high in the 50s and 60s are because there were so many women that were able to stay home. Now, I know that nowadays it's pretty much impossible for a one-income household to operate well. And the ones that are able to do it, like Kyle here, I give full props to. But I think that there was such a boom and such a kind of pushed necessity that women go out there and get jobs and do all of this just in the name of equality. I think that they were pushed into something that they probably wouldn't have thought of, at another point. I think that the nuclear family was a lot happier when mom was at home with the kids, taking care of them and teaching them what life should be like, versus now where we have schools basically telling our children that.
Yeah, I would like to confirm that.
Yeah. And I think,
Positivity.
so I think, and then to your point as well, I think a term that I hear a lot of feministic talks use is the toxic masculinity thing, and I think, Joey's question is a good point. The testosterone is at an all-time low. And I think nowadays it's frowned upon to show your testosterone. I think it's, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't have anything to support this, but I think on a subconscious level, men are afraid to be men because they're afraid of what other people are going to say.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. When I talk about testosterone, because like an 18-year-old right now versus an 18-year-old in 2001 is down by like 40% in testosterone levels. So
that's pretty intense.
So I don't know if it's necessarily just like, oh, I don't feel like I don't want to have that type of problem with the community where like I want to not necessarily fight someone, but I just want to do a masculine type of thing. I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think it's just more of they don't have the drive anymore.
I've had that thought about, like, is there something environmental to this too? Like, is it just our pollution? The all the plastic crap everywhere,
That's what he was-
microplastics,
yeah.
The
being everywhere.
microplastics being in
And they-
everything pretty much.
Yeah, and they say they're endocrine disruptors already, so they're messing with your hormones.
Yeah, well, do you know how much estrogen is in everything? Like they
it's
pump
unreal.
full of everything.
It's unreal. I mean, the Alex Jones, they're turning the frogs gay meme. It's quite literal that the frogs were being turned this way because of all the, not to mention just the microplastic pollution, but the fact that when you urinate any sort of pharmaceutical compounds, these things don't break down. They're now in the water stream, and you have so much use of birth control and everything else. There's so much estrogen in the water and the wastewater and it's infecting things. And I mean, yeah, it could be infecting us. We have just no idea. It would make sense that we think we're so smart that we are our own end. I mean, that absolutely makes sense, that human ends human,
Yeah.
But also adding in my head as well is that the amount of high fructose corn syrup is in every single product that you have as well.
And the seed oils.
Yeah, because you know what high fructose was originally used for, right?
I guess not. No.
It was strictly used to fatten up pigs.
Huh.
That's what its original, just like with Trend, right? When you take Trend
Yeah.
to get bigger as a body weight lifter, it was meant for cows to
Okay.
get bulls
bulk
and
'em
stuff.
up.
Yeah, just to bulk them up to get more meat out of it. But now we see that, instead of just using natural sugars, which are expensive to import and then use or produce, we can just do a byproduct of high fructose corn syrup as another means to fatten people as well. And that's why I think there's so much obesity in the country, as well as so much diabetes as well.
Well, and there could be,
100%.
yeah, I could see that 100%. And that obviously would correlate into lower testosterone levels.
Yeah.
All of the
Well,
chemical compounds
Yeah,
that we're
right.
ingesting.
Because our diets aren't so much like pure protein products anymore, like they used to be back in the day. I mean, you're hunting and eating pure meat, a lot more meat, and now it's you shouldn't eat meat, and how dare you eat meat, and that whole vegan lifestyle takes over. It's like, well, guess what? Vegan lifestyle kills people. Not everybody's built for that.
Yeah.
Well, and then meat. I'm not saying all meat, but as well as with meat, meat doesn't really inherently make you fat by any means, because
No.
it goes the protein. Like, if you ever eaten like all protein, right? So like an Asian restaurant, for instance, it has just a crap ton of carbs, right? So you eat it, boom, you're good, you feel full. 20 minutes later, you're done, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you eat just a plate of chicken, you're gonna feel full for longer.
Oh, yeah.
And then on top of that, your stool is gonna be better, and the food just processes through you. It's not being cannibalized and then stored as fat or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's your necessary needs, and
Right.
then whatever's waste is out is waste, and nothing is being stored.
No,
Yeah.
100%, man. And you got to look at it. Everything you're putting into your system's like medicine. Just change the word from food to medicine. You put pills into your body, just the food you put on, everything you put into your body, you're going to see some sort of result from. So yeah, if you're like, I find myself anymore, man. When I go grocery shopping, and this is part of why inflation kills me too, because like the better stuff almost is now on par with the cheap crap. So it's like the inflation almost didn't touch the organic food. It just brought all the cheap crap up to the organic food
Oh,
level.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, well, now I feel a little bit more justified. And I just had a weird realization that maybe they are trying to change our behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, let's
Yeah,
put that
no,
aside for
that's-
another time.
Yep.
Man, that screws with me. Anyways, so
Well, it's like
But-
going on an election cycle. Sorry to interject,
sure.
but like whether or not you believe the election was stolen, right?
Okay.
With the
It was.
with the election cycle that we have, would it be easier to hack the infrastructure and then change the voting system,
Yeah.
or just hack
That's
the
what they did.
or hack the brains of the individuals to where they believe it, and then you have no traceable amount that comes back
Right.
to you.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
100%. I want to just like ring a bell right now because yes, I believe that. Yes, I believe they did both things. They've been turning the people into a zombie class so that they'll just accept things. That's why all the people accepted the COVID stuff. My biggest fascination here, and I like messing with Twitter because of the algorithms, and it's really easy to see the psyops taking place and the money taking place on who funds what to say who, and it's funny to watch. But all the accounts that were crazy on the like, if you're not adhering to COVID policies, you're an idiot, and like the bully accounts, they were always some sort of major league sports team association account with some sort of, like I said, the picture would be like a Baltimore Ravens symbol or the Pittsburgh Steelers or whatever else, some sort of sports league. It didn't even have to be football. And it was that account that would just blast people for being so dumb and this and that, and it's your fault we can't do things and yada, yada, yada. And you know darn well if this is a real person, I'm not saying it is, but if it is, they got a vaccine to go see a sporting event.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Someone got a medical procedure so they could go see something, so they could go do something that they could do before. So yeah, I would definitely say the minds have been poisoned for a long time, and I think we're seeing that fruition now. It baffles me that all this stuff came into fruition during the 60s and 70s, and we are currently the gas crisis, and all these different crises are completely right back to what we were then, like the Carter presidency, that whole time frame. It was almost exactly the same. And I feel like maybe they tried to do this whole deal, attack on the families, all these things. They tried to do them then, immediately, but failed.
Yep.
And I feel like they failed because the technology wasn't where it was at yet. And I feel like the technology is exactly where it needs to be now.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about necessarily just about it being the technology that's there. So we're talking about families in the 60s, adults in the 60s. So that'd be like the silent generation, right?
Yeah, right. Gen X.
No. Gen X is not the silent generation. The silent generation is the one that went and fought in
Vietnam.
I thought the silent, or is it the greatest generation? The
Greatest generation fought World War II.
Okay, yeah. So the silent generation would be
And
so
then the
Vietnam,
boomers
right?
were
The
after
boomers,
them, and then
right?
the silent.
So my
Right?
question, yeah. So because you had the boomers, then X, then Y. The millennials is Y, and then you have the Gen Zers, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But-
yep, that's right.
With we're talking about technology being the place that it's supposed to be. When we see that technology wasn't there in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you could say even, why do you still see a dramatic change in individuals though still? Whereas, would you not blame the previous generation and then the previous generation to that? So blaming the boomers for how they treated the Gen Xers and then the Gen Xers for treating how they did the millennials as kids, how they raised them. Would they not be more at fault?
Let's rate these generations real quick by what's the philosophy? So the strong men make good times. Greatest generation made good times. The boomers, or the good times create weak men. The boomers were weak. They're starting to create hard times. It's a slowly over time process. The greatest generation, obviously, and the generations before them were obviously also great. They were the strong men. But the generations after the greatest generation, the World War II generation, were very soft and became softer and softer. We got participation trophies. We got it's okay, let Johnny do what he's going to do. We've got all these very softer things. You could also associate these things to lower testosterone and higher estrogen levels too.
Well, yeah. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that for the boomer generation, because if you look at the 60s and 70s, you look at their fitness scores and stuff like that in the 60s and 70s when in the heights of Cold War.
But you know that the communists and the fascists and the Americans were all super soldiers in their own right. It didn't matter what ideology they adhered to. They were all very strong because they all knew physical fitness that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I don't think.
Well, typically
It's
being
the Cold War.
Well, typically being stronger in general or more physically fit has a direct correlation to the amount of testosterone that you're producing.
Okay. I get. Yeah, if you're swinging into that, yeah, sure. Yep, 100%. Yeah, they definitely had it back then because what we were just talking about on the last episode with the gym classes back then were insane. Like the stuff they were doing was basic training stuff. It was better, more intense than what basic training is today.
Yeah.
And they were doing that in high school. So yeah, for sure they were probably pumping their testosterone was going through the roof. And these guys were huge. You didn't want to mess with them,
Yep.
I mean
I think
but beyond that, like what did they go and do? What did we go on and do past that? I mean, tell me, what the Gulf War?
Well, you had Kissinger who,
Kissinger was on a reign of terror. I mean, the fact that he's dead now, I view, I do not wish ill upon any person that's dead, but it's one of those things it's kind of like a John McCain situation where it's like these people weren't good for this earth. They inflicted more evil than they did good.
Yeah, with Kissinger being alive no matter what, right? So you have the question to me, like, is the question, was Kissinger a necessary evil, right? Like, because he stopped so many right after World War II, because he was a German Jew who then came to America, and then he was all gung for America. He's a pragmatist, I think. What is the word? But
yeah.
So like he's a crappy individual. He bombed the heck out of Laos, all of these other places. Cambodia, he just bombed them just because he could, right? Not because he could, but because China was moving lines of industry through there to fund North Korea or Vietnam, sorry. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, I get it, but at the same time, like that's still not okay. But it's still hard to not see him in a way that he single-handedly stopped. Instead of having an all-out war with China or Russia back in the 60s and 70s, we had the Cold War instead, right? So like it's hard to not notice that he single-handedly stopped all of that from actually occurring. You'd have to actually look at what he's done, and it's.
I'll give you that's an interesting point. Something that I've never viewed or viewed it from. That is interesting, but I always kind of viewed him more as the guy that was inflicting the liberal New World Order that they kind of wanted to do. Kind of like he was the father of the globalist kind of approach in a sense. Maybe it didn't start that way, right? Maybe he was just gung-ho America and it was more of a corrupted thing, but it's like the whole color revolution of going in and changing all these regimes. He was the father of that, like, limited warfare, right? Like, we don't just have to go in and send the troops and just take out the leader and do what we want to do. Maybe we can just, fund a militia group to do that for us, and then we don't lose American lives and et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of those militia groups went on to do way horrific things.
Sure.
And it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, you're to think of it in the lens of Kissinger and a pragmatic individual is to think about it in the terms of, does this benefit America and how does it benefit America? If you think about it just on those terms, so whatever Kissinger has done, has it benefited America? Yes, then in his head, he's in the right. It doesn't matter how it happens. It just depends on how the end result happens.
Right.
That's how all Kissinger thought about.
And that's honestly how I justify how there's so many evil people on this earth. It's that they don't know necessarily that they're doing evil things, because in their minds they are doing the right thing. They're doing what's good. They're doing what they believe in, et cetera, et cetera. They don't necessarily know they're being evil, because a lot of these people, a lot of intellectuals that get into these positions aren't religious. And I think that's a huge problem with it. It's that they're so smart that they're so smart they can't be dumb enough to be religious, is how they view it. It's that whole How
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know what intellectual level you want to view it as. There's a meme that shows, you've got the people that don't know anything and they're all gung ho God, and then you've got the intellectuals who don't believe in God, but they're all like scientists and whatever else, and then you have like the Albert Einstein type philosophers that they're high IQ and they're absolutely yes there is a God, and it's that meme where it's like it skips these. I don't understand how it skips those people, and how these people get it and they don't.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's a weird phenomenon to see, because that's kind of that thing. It's like, yeah, old Mary Sue, she's a God-fearing Christian lady. She's super respectful, super nice, wouldn't harm anybody. She might not know everything. She might be dumb as a box of rocks. But you know what? She's not going to do you any harm.
Right.
She's going to treat you right.
Yep.
And
So-
it's like, you know what? I'll take that over anything. So that's kind of how I view it all.
Zach, do you know anything about Kissinger? Do you know who the man is?
No, I know who he is. Actually, the only reason I ever did any research on him was because I saw that he died recently. So I don't know too much about him.
So Kissinger wrote the foreign policy doctrine that you know today. Basically,
Liberal New World Order.
basically
Yeah.
every single conflict that we have got into since Vietnam, more or less, has Kissinger's hand in the pot
Gotcha.
in some capacity.
The Bush family. I mean, there's a lot of people
'Cause
involved in that.
he
too.
was- he
But
was-
he's
Because he died at 100,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
He was still influencing or being a liaison or whatever you want to call it for Obama. And he was going to do it for Clinton in 2016 as well. So we're talking only,
Yeah.
6 years ago.
Yeah, not very removed
Yeah.
from this from
Yeah,
the
he's
situation.
been
at all.
involved in a lot of things that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And I'm only talking about the things that I do know about.
Sure,
and
Yeah,
sure.
there's
there's
stuff we don't know about.
yeah.
Yeah.
But all the Banana Republic talk you hear about, all these things, like the Banana Republic thing is because of, I mean, in a sense, and this is why it's weird, because America right now is fascist. They use the government's military might on behalf of corporate power. The Banana Republic term is like, I think it's quite literally the Dole fruit company took over governments in South America so that they could have their banana factories.
Yeah.
It's unreal what we do on behalf of companies, and it's like, that to me is fascism. I don't know if there's a different meaning for it, but I thought Mussolini's definition was pretty right on.
So Zach, what do you all this stuff that we've talked about so far in the past 30 minutes? How does this all tie back to the struggle with the family unit?
Yeah, do you think these things matter?
Um.
I mean, do you these people, these power struggles they hold, do you think that this has? Do you think there's any implications? Like, we obviously know the family unit's being under attack. Is there any association, do you think, with the greater good, the greater goals of these people, or anything like that?
Well, I think that there are a lot of countries who would love to see nothing less than our family structure decompose.
Yeah, I would say China
think-
for sure would love to see
Well,
that.
yeah, I think any of our enemies. I think.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know if you were in the room when I stated it, but as of right now, current levels are below the replacement rate
Yeah.
for our parents, or for children's parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, less of a population.
That's almost like global too, right? That's not
Well,
even
yeah,
just
right. And
here.
and well, we could equate some of that to COVID as well.
Mm-hmm.
The general population control thought of it all, but
Right.
I think that there are factors that are operating outside of our country that have a definite correlation. There's an agenda there that they would love to see America become weaker, one, in its numbers, but also two, in their morals and their everyday life.
Yep.
And I think the further that kids get away from their parents and just start relying on others to get, their news, their morals, their, whatever it is, I think the more dangerous it becomes for our future.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I really do. And
I
I think that it's always going to be better. Here's the part that really kicks it for me is we claim to be a country that embraces all different backgrounds, all different, mentalities, and you can be who you want to be. Yet anytime someone
Give me your meek, your weak,
Yeah.
your
Yeah. And see here, that's the thing is, we're starting to breed a generation where you stick to the status quo, or you're just downright insert all of these words.
They're teaching that critical thinking is not a good thing.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Having independent, and I thought it was weird. It was during the Obama presidency. I saw something come out, and it was a school homework, and it was talking about creating an essay on talking about how much you love the government and how much you can trust the government. And it was like, this is geared towards school children, and it's like, well, that's not a good thing. They should always be teaching in the school that you shouldn't. You should always be questioning the government. You should always be questioning everything. Because that's how life works. Like the fact that they're teaching the status quo and they're just hammering it in, and how much we went through and how much it's worse now.
Not blind faith in authority.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what they're teaching. They want you to be blindly faithful in what they say.
So-
what they say is word, and that's it.
So to a previous thing you said before, Zach, right? So you said that women in the household, you think not necessarily that we should go back to that, but that it had more benefits than problems, right?
What? Say that again. I want to make sure that
having more women raising our children
in the households.
Yeah,
it was
raising
better.
children in the households is better. So
Correct.
instead of having teachers to do so. When you were talking about earlier, as well, Kyle, you just mentioned it, of people in the workplace and stuff. So what would you define in today's culture, as I've talked to you about this, Zach, what defines a good student in today's society? Is it someone who's complacent, who doesn't talk much, who gets A's, who doesn't talk during school?
Oh yeah, it's
Is
the
that-
person that doesn't raise a ruckus, someone who just does what they're told and skates by. That's what they want.
Okay, what makes a good employee?
The same thing.
Is that not what you think they're trying to do?
I think they're building a bunch of complacent factory workers. Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah,
I
we've
think that's
talked
exactly
about
what they're
that.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I think, like I said, I think the farther you get away from. Here's the thing. So anyone could make the argument that, not everyone's parents are the necessarily the correct moral leaders. I mean, we say that. We say that, And so how do you know you can trust your parents? Well, at the end of the day, no one's going to love you like your parent does.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean? And so I think that
I don't believe that you should 100% trust your parents, though, either.
no, not necessarily. What I'm saying, though, is that you should be able to trust your parents more than you can a teacher who you just met this year and have only spent 8 months with.
Yeah, especially one who's trying to tell you that you can't trust the people who have raised you for the last 12
Right.
years of your life.
Right. I'm not saying to just blindly trust your parents at all either, because again, that would be very hypocritical if we were telling kids, hey, don't listen to your
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
definitely don't listen to the Janesville school teacher, male teacher that just got caught for having child pornography. Don't listen to that guy.
right.
Don't listen to that guy.
Right.
Or the Sun Prairie teachers that are making you, well, you've heard about Sun Prairie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're under federal investigation now.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. No, I definitely think that the further away from your parents you get your morals and what you think about the world, the less connected you can be to, let me rephrase it. The less connected you can be to your parents, the more that you are going to step outside of your comfort zone, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm kind of talking in circles here, but
Sorry, 'cause
No,
you're
no, go
talking in
ahead.
circles. Do you?
No, you're good.
Would it be a better statement to say to be more connected with your parents is to be less disconnected with society?
Not necessarily.
In today's day and age, yes.
Yes.
In today's day and age, yes. But yeah, because, well, and that's probably different for all of us, right? But
if I'm saying that correctly, what I'm saying is that being more connected with your family
Yeah.
makes you more connected with society.
Well,
Right.
hold on.
Family is your look.
Did you just reverse it?
No, I said
he
less disconnected with
Yeah.
society, the first one. I'm
Yeah.
making it easier for you to understand because you have a hippo brain or something like that.
I think
Wow.
here's what I think. Okay, I think that family is your first introduction to society. When you're a small baby,
Well-
right? There's you have your family around you. That's your first of all, 15 people in one room when you're a kid seems like, oh, that's half the world. You know?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of
you know,
people.
Well,
and
think
so-
about it as well this way. Your family is the smallest form of government that you have.
Right, exactly. That's
yeah,
my
it's a
point.
dictatorship.
That's my
Kind,
point,
yeah.
though. That's
No,
my
it's a dictatorship.
Yeah.
in my
But
house.
you got
it
to
is.
teach them that's like it's
Yeah.
only that way because of and it's really easier to teach them it's that way because of here's the Bible,
Well,
here's Christianity.
here's
And
my
you can
point.
kind of like teach. It's like, listen, it's just a respect thing. It's
Right.
Your elders, it's. I'm not, yes. If you're in a household situation where obviously your parents are a piece of crap,
Right.
it's not the same thing. We're obviously talking about in a situation where normal level-headed people are just trying their best to raise their kids,
Right.
and these people are yeah. You should always question the parents, but it's like. You need to respect them
That's-
too.
Okay,
You
go
need
ahead,
to-
get your point across, Zach. We've been interrupting.
No,
enough.
well, this is the reason that parents are. This is the reason that parents are so important in their children's lives, and why they have such a big responsibility. That's why parents have such a big responsibility, is because not only are they telling their kids that they need to do this, or not do this, that, or this, they also have the responsibility to make sure that the child understands why that they should do this,
Yeah.
or not do.
and that's what I try to do in my parenting style is like, because I feel so bad when I have to punish my kids, right? Like even if they 100% deserve it,
Yeah,
I
It
still feel
sucks.
bad.
Yeah.
because I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want you to be upset. I don't want to be upset.
Right.
I wish we could all just be happy and smiling, playing video games, and be.
I love
happy
bringing
laughing
out
right
the
now.
Switch for my kids.
Well, yeah, exactly. What kids? So.
I was gonna say, did you leave them in the Philippines?
Yeah, right. Where are they? So, anyways, no, I mean it just gets
Just
that.
another fatherless home.
Oh gosh, we have a contributor right here.
Yeah.
It just gets down to that point, man, where you just. Yes, the family unit is absolutely under attack, and you can't let them get to you. It's just got to be that point where it's like you just have to understand there's bigger forces at will here that are trying to attack it. It's like it is nothing to be stigmatized. Traditional housewife duties, nothing to be stigmatized. Stay at home wives, moms, it's nothing to be stigmatized. Homeschooling, nothing to be. These are the way things used to be forever. Mm-hmm. And it's not like it's like, oh, well, we've progressed past that. It's like, well, I want to say that there's been nothing but more mental illness in women. There's more unhappy, broken families, fatherless homes.
Again, I'm going to bring this back
criminal
to as
children.
well. I'm going to bring this back to one of my points as well, which is women were pressured by feminists to go out and get those jobs and do this and do that, when in reality, there's a ton of women out there who would love to be able to be stay-at-home moms, but because we've been brewed, conditioned. There you go.
Groomed and conditioned.
You know how bad I want to be a stay-at-home dad?
Yeah. Well,
It'd be nice.
Well, women have been conditioned up to this day to be a 50-50. It's got to be 50-50. So if you're not making as much as your husband,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
If
you're not
you have to make your worth, yeah, and that hurts more relationships because how many men want to be with a woman that makes more money than them?
Right.
I'm going to tell you it's zero,
yeah.
I don't mind.
except for Joe. 0.0001%.
Well, we're not talking, Joey. We're not talking about
Joey's
a
available,
sugar. We're not talking about a sugar mama situation where she's making an exorbitant amount of money where you can just stay home.
No, I'm
What
not.
do you have
I'm
to
not,
offer
I'm
anyway?
not saying that either. I'm just saying even if I have the job that I currently have, and I find a woman in a relationship, and she's still making more money than me, why do I care? Why would I why would it make me feel less of a man? I don't think that's
so. The psychology behind it is that the woman's not going to go for you because you make less than her, so she's going to view you less valuable. That's what you're missing. That doesn't play into your thinking, because why would you think that?
I get the psychology behind it, but then in my head, that woman's not for me. Then if that's how she thinks, then I don't want her.
Right.
Right.
So to me, it doesn't matter how much she makes.
Society has created a bunch of women like that,
but
where they didn't exist before.
A question that I do have then is, with the way in which our inflation is currently, or the amount of money to the amount of debt a regular person holds, is that not one of the more reasons why men and women have to work in a family unit, as in to make income?
That's what they tell you, but I did it my whole life without it.
Well, I know that you are doing it, but you're also in Wisconsin, Illinois, in the Midwest, right? Go to California, go to New York, and without saying just leave the state.
Right.
How does one person support a family like that without on a single
any city
income
environment? You're not going to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying that we've created it via
urbanization is also part of the breaking of the family unit.
Yeah, maybe mainly you're saying like feminism, but would not urbanism be a higher threshold to me? In my head, it's more of the urbanization rather than the feminist movement.
Well,
I think feminism good grief. I think feminism started a lot of the problems that we see in the nuclear family, because there are so many sources that will tell you that the family unit was so much stronger when the mom was at home, when the woman was at home, and the father was the bread maker, And
I just view it as a multi-pronged attack, because you're both right.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
Feminism was one aspect of it. Urbanization's another aspect of it. No fault divorce is another aspect of it. I mean, there's tons of little things too. I mean, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
It's quite literally a strategy written by China. These things are like serious, and they're not to be like, you can look at them as it happened over time, and to sit here and see like the results of what has happened over time, and it's like, we don't need to take that. We can reverse course.
So let me pose you what may seem or may be the final question.
Okay.
You talk about we are under attack, as in the family unit is under attack. What is the best defense to this attack?
Ooh, well, I would say rebuilding your community, your family, keeping strong ties, reconnecting with God. That does,
not necessarily God.
No, no, God. No, yeah. Reconnecting with God. It doesn't have to be church. It could be connecting with your neighborhood, your neighbors, just reaching out. We can make small little steps to just make life good. Whether it just be saying thank you to someone in your local community, some worker at a gas station, something to make them happy. Little things. You can start small and work big.
I think that there needs to be a lot less excuses made. I think there's a lot of people out there that have gotten complacent. I think there's a lot of parents out there that have gotten complacent. And, talking to my wife, who is a teacher, she'll tell you that the most discipline that a lot of these kids get are at the school.
That's very sad.
Let me ask.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I think that complacency in parents especially leads to exactly what I was talking about, where kids are looking for other avenues, looking through other lenses to see what the world is like. That's not necessarily a bad thing when you're talking about, okay, well, they're just curious, but a lot of kids will latch on to the first person that they admire. And a lot of times that admiration is not a good one.
It's not deserved.
Right.
It's just some friend who might be a year older, and then they got into some sort of pornographic magazine or something, and they get them into something, and it's all hell from there, man.
Yeah.
And it's just someone they trusted because they they thought their family was whatever because their family wasn't there for them in one way or another.
So let me ask you another question, because we're ranting on, or more you two, because you're part of a family, like actually have kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To not make it sound like you're on the moral high ground everywhere you go, where do you think you are lacking in either your parenting or like where, because you said what do you say
Complacency.
yeah, complacent. Where are you getting complacent with your kids, would you say, or your family household in general?
I would personally say that the technology thing we talked about earlier, I mean, there's a reason I wanted to talk about it is because I pushed him on technology. You know, my kid, my first son, that way pushed him a lot more into technology so we could do other things, you know, because he was our first child. And I learned a lot from that experience. You know, yeah, sometimes it comes off as we're on the moral high ground, but I would just say that's associated with the beer. You know, it kind of gets you a lot of confidence when you might not be deserving.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's perfect, and I don't believe everybody's perfect.
Here's the thing.
know.
Yes, that's exactly it. And this is the accountability that I was kind of getting to with the complacency. You know, there's So you're holding. What I'm saying is you're holding us accountable. You're telling us to tell you where we fall short, and I think any parent is lying to you if they tell you that they're a perfect parent. Every parent out there, that is a constant struggle for every parent, is realizing where they've fallen short. And I think that the only way that you can become a better parent is, one, accept that you have fallen short and try to fix it.
Yeah.
Because there are so many parents out there who don't believe they've done any wrong.
Oh, I'm asking you specifically, where do you think you've fallen short?
Okay. Where have I fallen short?
Because Kyle just said he's fallen short in his relationship
yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to make it like, as you have people that are listening, I don't want to make it sound like you're just taking the moral high ground.
Sure.
Like, oh, I'm too good.
Yeah,
You guys suck. I
thought
hate
about this.
you.
Yeah.
Screw
Oh,
you
so
guys.
yeah,
I'm kind of glad you brought it up because I thought about this earlier. It's like, man, a lot of the times we in these shows saying these things, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of why I was bringing that up. It's like, we both know no one's perfect, and we're obviously not.
Right.
The only reason we say these things is we come from a side of people who have screwed up and seen these, you know, consequences of actions for so long, of horrible decision making and horrible behaviors. And I mean, we have these experiences with it, and it's like, look, the only reason it sounds like we might be coming from a moral high ground, a more you know, kind of in your face attitude about it, is because it's like, whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, especially whether we liked it or not, it is the way it is. It's kind of that whole thing of, it's like, your parents always told you this, you know, we told you this, we told you that, and it's like, you get to be an adult later on, and you're like, man, they were right, you know, and it's like, I really wish I would have listened to them. And it's like, at a time when you were that kid, though, you could care less what they had to say. And
Sure.
it's coming from that side of just being able to grow from these experiences, these mistakes, and just, you know I've seen it, and it's like, I've seen the consequences of it. And it's like, that's why I feel strongly about things, and that's why, you know, maybe I sound like I'm on a moral high ground sometimes about things that I might be very hypocritical.
Well,
about.
we all are, because I mean, we both are, because we're passionate about the things that we say, and so a lot of times it comes off as I'm not going to listen to anyone else and what they're saying. I know I'm right, when it's not necessarily that. And that's why I actually appreciate this question, which I'm going to answer now. No, I think
I've been waiting.
I think one of the spots that I definitely could do much better is explaining to my children why they are in trouble when they are. A lot of times, you know, we touched on it on an episode where a lot of times dad becomes the disciplinarian, you know, and it's almost like the drill sergeant approach where, you know, they're just pointing at you and I said no, you know, blah 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 blah. Sometimes that's how I come off, and
Right.
I do recognize that I do need to be better at explaining
Harker,
why.
Daddy.
That's one thing. That's one place that I could do better. Another place that I feel I could do better too is making more time for just just me and my kids. We run around all over the place, and I know there's a lot of households that do that, but I think that's one place that I would like to be better as a parent is the one-on-one. I can't tell you when my daughter was younger, my oldest daughter, we had our youngest daughter, and my oldest daughter started feeling like she wasn't as important anymore, and that happens with a lot of almost all older siblings.
Well, she's
when
not.
When the second comes along, and so
Joe,
one of the things that I did is I took her to Chuck E. Cheese one night. I talked to the wife, and I said, you know what, I need her to feel better about this whole thing, and so she was 3-4 years old. This was the first time she was ever to a Chuck E. Cheese, so this was mind blowing to her. But we actually, when we sat down and ate the cardboard like pizza,
that nice frozen pizza cooked up on the pizzazz for you.
Yeah. We talked as much as you can with a 3 or 4 year old, but I really enjoyed that time with her, not only because I'll be honest, I kind of got a break from the screaming baby at home, but it allowed a personal connection between me and my kid. And I think now that I've got 2, I can definitely be better at making sure that I have that personal connection with both of them. Just me and
individually.
them. Yes, individually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because I know I had that. I know I had that when I was a kid. And in today's day and age, that's not so much encouraged, especially for dads. It's not so much encouraged anymore. It's more of, the dad goes to work, he comes home, most of the time he's the disciplinarian, and then they go to bed, and I think
sounds about right.
Yeah,
That's my life. No.
Yeah, that's one thing that I need to dedicate more of my time with my children. I think that's definitely one place where to answer your question, Joey.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
So and mind you, there's countless other areas. There's
tons of improvements, but we do not have time for that.
No, I just wanted you to acknowledge, because we've taken the entire moral high ground the entire episode.
Sure.
So I wanted to bring it down to
we
earth
do. We try.
It's if you're not coming from the moral high ground and you're just
I don't want
you need to explain, I guess, all the evils and everything else, but and the sound hypocritical, it does happen.
Yeah, I don't want it to sound like for your guys' podcast that we are scolding your listeners, like, hey, you need to do this.
Yeah.
You need to do this. And it's not that we're doing it, but
Right.
I don't want it to make it sound like that's what we're doing.
Well,
I want you to be able to
Joe, you need to sit over there and listen.
Well, no, you had the podcast on a little bit earlier before we started recording, which, talked about a philosopher who wrote down his thoughts and embraced failure. And I think that's absolutely true. I think that's a very good way to run your life. I heard an interesting take on that as well that I was going to tell you, but I'll tell you now, and I think everyone will appreciate it, is, maybe you've heard it, do you know what cows do when a storm's coming over the horizon in a big pasture? What do cows do when they see the storm? They run away from it. They run in the same direction that the storm is going. So in other words, if the storm's coming from west to east, they're going to run east. They're trying to get away from the storm. Do you know what bison do when they see a storm? They run into it and through it to get through it as quickly as possible. And I think that's a way that would kind of sum up what I'm saying, which is you really do need to embrace your failure, learn from it, and go into it head on, because if you don't, it becomes your enemy the rest of your life, and you're never trying to challenge yourself because of fear of failure.
So to cut you off, Zach, I think you should save that for another episode.
No,
I think,
because
we'll
failure
circle
is a
back,
very
dude.
big thing.
Yeah. But I mean, in parenting though, like I said,
There's a lot of trial and error, which means there's a lot of
There's
failure involved.
yep.
Well, I haven't failed yet.
parenting.
Indeed. Well, you have failed to have any children, so technically you're a giant failure.
Well, no, that's exactly what it is. Any parent that says that they've never failed are not a good parent.
Right.
Any parent will be able to tell you where they've done wrong.
They probably have a boy that thinks it's a girl, so good luck.
Moral high ground taken again.
I'll take the moral high ground any chance you get. man.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Zach, I like tonight's discussion. Joe, I'm really glad you were involved with this.
Yeah.
You brought up
Yeah.
some really good questions and some really good points that I'm really, really happy you brought up. But tonight, we are drinking New Glarus Brewing Company again.
Again, it's like what, fourth time?
We'll probably 4 more times. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have them. So, but it is a different beer. We are drinking Oofda.
Oofda.
So
Yeah.
this is New Glarus Brewing Company, of course. Like I said, New Glarus, Wisconsin, employee-owned, a delicious company you could only get in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
This beer is amazing.
Yeah. This is the first time you've had it, right?
Very first time.
This is only the second time that I've had a few. I fell in love with it. The guy that bought it for me, he came over, he had dinner with us, and he brought us beer to say thank you. And I fell in love with it. I think it's one of his favorite beers, and I think that's why he brought it. But I fell in love with it as soon as I tried it, and now I can't get over it. Problem is, it's only seasonal.
Of course. Just
Yeah.
like many great things, you
Yeah.
can only get it once a
Yeah.
year. So it is very delicious. The label's crazy. I mean, it says it's got all sorts of, coffee, chocolatey type of undertones, and it even, recommends drinking about 48 degrees because it's, the warmer it gets, the better these
Yeah.
types of beers get. And, as I've only drinking them cold so far, and I've enjoyed every single one.
They go down.
They're very good.
I can attest that it goes down smooth at 38%, 38 degrees too.
And it's just, I don't know where to really classify this. I mean, it's on the sweeter side for beers, but it's also still has the dark kind of, slow sipping beer body to it.
It's extremely smooth.
Very smooth.
Extremely
probably
smooth.
one of the smoothest beers I've drank. To be honest, I mean this is very good.
I think a lot of people equate for beer, they look at the darker beers and think that they're going to be like harsher and more bitter and stuff.
Oh, they have no clue.
Oh,
That's where all the flavors at. man.
it's almost totally the opposite. A lot of darker beers are much smoother going down. They have more of a I don't know what the technical term is for it, but
Sure.
it's one of
There's
those
probably
things
one,
where
though.
yeah, sure, just like there is for anything. But yeah, it's really smooth even when it hits your tongue. It's not just a smooth swallow when you're drinking it. It's
Yeah.
when it hits your tongue, it's smooth.
It hits your
even though it's a
tongue.
carbonated.
It's smooth. It's oofda.
Yeah, it's
And
oofda.
Tonight's topic was the family unit. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like always, if there's any suggestions you guys have, feel free to utilize the Q&A portion of our Spotify. Anything you guys want us to talk about, pop it in there. We'll
Yep.
take it into consideration. Any comments or suggestions you have on the show, we'll, any questions or anything, we'll answer them. So feel free. Zach, anything else you got for anybody?
Not a darn thing. Not until next episode.
Absolutely. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Again, this was
Common Sense with Beer.